Hi, and welcome to the Pumper Jones Tabletop Gaming Review Show. I'm Pumper Jones, and this is the Pumper Jones Tabletop Gaming Review Show. In this first episode in the series, I'm going to be reviewing a game. Ticket to Ride is a board game, and it's one of my favorites in the genre of strategic train placing games. Let me just give you a little sample of some of the things you get when you purchase Ticket to Ride. 240 colored train cars. Focus in on that because that'll be very important later. When you first open it up, you get the rule book. You don't really need that except when you need to read the rules. Then you have the map. It's double-sided, and the back doesn't have any of the city names or the routes. I haven't figured out how to play with this side yet because it doesn't explain it in the rules, but I'm sure it's a lot of fun. One of the most amazing features of this game is the train cars. There are 5 different colors, and this is one of those games that really promotes that. I always play with the same color mentality, and I think that's a decent homage to the original Monopoly game. As you can see in here, you've got a nice stack of cards. There's also these different routes. I'm gonna be black. On your turn, you can do one action, and you build up this stack of train cards, and then you spend them to buy these different routes. And you place your trains, and you try to get different combinations, and then whoever has the most points wins. It's pretty straightforward, but I want to focus in on some of the most riveting aspects of Ticket to Ride gameplay. This is one of those games where positioning your cars correctly and evenly on these routes is very important. Once you get later into the game and there's routes going all over the board, there's almost always some route of train cars that gets bumped or jostled a little bit in the process of placing new train cars. And somebody who likes that type of gameplay where you're constantly sort of like straightening the pieces will have plenty to do during this game. It reminds me a lot of the gameplay aspect of Settlers of Catan, where you have to straighten your roads between cities on a regular basis. Now, the second aspect of Ticket to Ride gameplay that I really want to focus on, when it's not your turn, games can get, really boring. You're just kind of sitting around waiting for other people to do their thing. And Ticket to Ride provides you with so many great pieces here that you can arrange. You've got that sort of conductor, train yard god sort of dynamic that a lot of games are lacking. 3 wide is equal to the length of a car, which allows for a lot of very satisfying patterns. A lot of games are lacking this effect. The roads in Settlers of Catan are very poorly designed. Even though they allow for kind of a log cabin effect, there's not as many of them, which is, I think, a huge thing that you get here, where it's just you have so many trains. Now, granted, that amount does go down as you play the game and you're putting more trains on the board. As time goes on, it might get a little bit more boring, but then you have less game to go through. The possibilities for arranging your trains like this are pretty much endless. I will say one downside is they do not stack vertically very well. One of the things about Risk is there's just so many little figures that when it's not your turn, there's almost this sense of like overwhelm. Like you really can't realistically arrange all of them in any sort of pattern or battalion. This game, it's just about the right balance of train cars. Take out a few, place them on the board, and not have that sort of figure fatigue that you might get in a game like Risk. Remember that once you start on a certain pattern or design with your trains, you're not locked into that. You can always disrupt what you're doing with your train yard, or even if you're not going for the yard concept, maybe just the pattern that you're forming. Now, you do have these little station pieces which almost barely fit over a train, and that's kind of frustrating. It makes it hard to use them realistically. There's only 3 of them, so they can kind of be stacked on top of each other in a little bit of a satisfying way. So, they're not useless. I think that's an element they really could have improved upon in designing this game. Another feature that I really want to take the time to mention, especially with the Ticket to Ride Europe, is that they've done this really great job of mangling all the city names. They came up with some ones that are really hard to pronounce. You'll have a lot of fun with them trying to figure out how the heck you're supposed to pronounce these cities in the original languages or historical spellings is a great way for one of the players to kind of assert their dominance when they know how to correctly pronounce all the cities. All right, well, I think that pretty much wraps up my review of Ticket to Ride. There's a lot of fun stuff that you can do with your trains because you can always be fiddling and messing with those. It provides onboard distractions as well for people who are really into those train-based genres, strategic train placing games. This is definitely one to check out because, I mean, really you can score over 100 points, and I think that's a big draw for people.